So lads, today we're going to be discussing whether or not the Indiana Fever, who are the winners of the offseason for most people, whether or not the Indiana Fever actually screwed up badly in their offseason. Because that's a possibility. It's not a guarantee that they had the best offseason ever. Because, as you guys can see, there are 12 players here and they can't. This is just impossible. It's impossible. They cannot afford these 12 players. But anyway, before we get on to it, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 43,200 by the end of the day. We're 86 off. Who knows? We could hit it. We might not. But anyway, we are talking about this. So, they gave Kelsey Mitchell the Supermax, which I don't hate. She earned it. She deserves every cent of the Supermax. But by giving Kelsey Mitchell the Supermax, they have screwed up their cap space. They gave Kelsey Mitchell the Supermax. They gave Natasha Howard the max. They gave DeWanna Bonner nearly the max. And they paying Sydney Colson 20 grand more than she was earning last year in Vegas. So all these players as players is good. Jaylen Brown's not going to be on the team, so let's ignore Jaylen Brown. But now you've got a situation where you are $20,000 over the salary cap. So you need to, say not 20, Jesus, sorry, you're $30,000 over the salary cap. I don't know why I said 20. You are $30,000 over the salary cap. So you literally have to find a way to get off a player that is more than $30,000 above the minimum contract to field 12 players. And those players that are non-guaranteed is DeWanna Bonner. So if you want to just cut somebody, the only player you can cut is DeWanna Bonner. Because Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston do not make enough money. If you want to trade somebody, you can either trade Kelsey Mitchell, Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, or Katie Lou Samuelson for somebody of lesser money. You're not trading Kelsey Mitchell or players you sign in free agency. A lot of people talk about, they need to trade Christy Wallace. Christy Wallace making $80K a year. She's making a near minimum contract. And there's no reason to trade Christy Wallace. Christy Wallace is a fine 12th player. She's fine. She's fine. She's not making enough money. That's a problem. And now we're at the stage where the Katie Lou contract, and they knew they had the Katie Lou contract when they were making these moves, by the way. So now, what they're going to have to do to get off the Katie Lou contract, if they want to field a team, this is where it becomes an issue. And this is where they have some choices to make. Do they trade? They might have to attach something to Katie Lou. And we all know they have to attach something to Katie Lou. There is, and I'm going to talk about it based on the most likely scenario. The 2026 first, picks number 19 and 20. Both those second round picks to take Katie Lou's contract. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think teams know how desperate the Indiana Fever are. We're seeing it everywhere. By the way, I'm seeing all these, the old reputable sources and the pages that say they hate me. The pages they say that say they absolutely despise me and all, and that I'm the worst thing ever. I know ball. I know what the Thunder did. I know what teams do. I know that teams take players with draft capital. And everything's like, they need the Valkyries to save them. I'm like, man, these people that say I'm fake news are literally just taking my freaking theories and making it news. The amount of Golden State Valkyries Katie Lou Samuelson thinks. But most people that are in WNBA media don't watch basketball, so they don't understand how the salary cap works. And a lot of the time, teams with a big salary cap, they get assets back. Heck, the Sparks last year. The Sparks needed to take, in order for the Seattle Storm to be able to assign Nneka Nwumeke and Skylar Diggins, the Sparks needed to be able to, the Sparks took Kia Nurse, and what it did was also gave them the 2 pick in the draft. The Sparks got the second freaking pick in the draft. Or the Sparks the 4th pick. They got one of those picks to basically just take Kia Nurse's contract and give them a second in a year where the Sparks are going to be pretty good. So there is a precedent there in every league for it. But for me, it's going to be really tough because no one's going to give you a first back. No one's going to swap first with you. You're not going to be able to get it for a pick swap because you're going to be good. And everyone knows you're going to be good. And everybody knows getting off Katie Lou gives you a real backup center, and it allows you to keep your draft picks. So no team's going to want to do that. So you're going to have to attach something big. So you're going to probably have to attach your 2026 first to Katie Lou. That's what I think is the most likely thing to happen. Because I would be shocked if Katie Lou Samuelson is still a member of the Fever. Do they attach Damaris Dantas to Katie Lou? So if you're going to attach a Damaris Dantas to Katie Lou, you got to know what you're getting. So, for example, if you go to the Valkyries and you attach Damaris Dantas with Katie Lou, the only way it would make sense is if the Valkyries, you would need something else, but you would have to get a player back from the Valkyries. And if you're the Valkyries, you probably end up giving someone like Rupert. But that's only if Rupert says she's not coming to the Valkyries, but she'll go to the Fever. You can basically, you're going to have to trade for the rights to somebody and give up a Damaris Dantas. But it's going to be hard to find a center on the market that will give you as much as Damaris Dantas for sub 100k. Like, if you want to go and get Mercedes Russell, she costs a lot more than that. So that's not really an option. As much as I hate to say it, if we're purely talking basketball, if we're not talking relationships, if we're just talking depth in position and certain positions, like Lexie Hull attached to get off Katie Lou Samuelson, that is a possibility. And I don't understand why people aren't at least talking about the fact that it's a possibility. For me, it's the second most likely. If they're not trading the 2026 first round pick, it could be Lexie Hull. Why could it be Lexie Hull? Because she's on the last year of her rookie deal. They're going to have to pay her next year. I do think Lexie Hull is going to be like a Sophie Cunningham type, and like other players, I do think it's going to be one of those things like we've seen in Vegas. Like Cheyenne Parker-Tyus to get to Vegas is taking 100k less than she would get somewhere else. Whereas Lexie Hull, who's getting all these brand deals, she'd probably get offered, let's just say 150k by another team, and she'll probably take 100 to play with Indiana. She'll probably take the hometown discount because of all the extra brand deals. So I don't think, a lot of people are saying, oh, you're going to have to really pay Lexie Hull next year and it doesn't fit the price, like what the financials of the team. But I don't mind that. I don't think that's really an issue. The problem is they're just stacked on the wings. The team has way too many wings. And they do not have enough bigs. They've got way too many wings. So you're now looking at it with Hull and you're like, what way can they improve and get off Katie Lou Samuelson? And for me, like, to allow you to fill out the team, because I think Katie Lou's on 180. I think, if I'm not mistaken, somebody like a Marina Mabry is on 200. So if you end up giving up like Lexie Hull, Katie Lou, and pick 19, that might be able to get you Marina Mabry. And suddenly you've sorted your bench immediately with Marina Mabry. You're not going to be keeping, you're really going for it this year and this year alone. And then it also just about gives you enough flexibility, if I'm not mistaken, to get the two maxes. Or sorry, to get two minimum players in. I think just about, does it? No, it does. That wouldn't work out. That wouldn't work out financially. You need someone basically to match contracts. Now, you need somebody on a lesser contract than Katie Lou back, which isn't that many players. You would honestly, you wouldn't even be getting a player back. You would be just replacing Lexie Hull, essentially, with someone you find in free agency. And for me, if someone like Janelle Salome was still available and not gone to the Valkyries, this would be a more, not obvious, but like a more kind of enticing prospect of happening, but it's not going to happen. Look, I have to mention it because it's a possibility. Because in order for the Fever to get 12 players, they have to get off Katie Lou. And we have to talk about potential options of getting off Katie Lou. Because DeWanna Bonner, Caitlin Clark, Sophie, anyone they traded for this year, and Mitchell, Clark and Boston are not going to be traded. They are the untouchables. And everyone they traded for this year. So you might be saying, oh, get off Christy Wallace. But you need, you literally, to attach Christy Wallace to the Katie Lou trade, they're both negative assets. You would have to attach assets to get off Christy Wallace too. You would have to give up Christy Wallace and Katie Lou. To get off Christy Wallace and Katie Lou Samuelson, you would have to give up your both second round picks this year and your second round pick next year. That's what it would cost to get off both of them. So no, Christy Wallace cannot be attached to this. So basically, you're looking at a situation where Katie Lou there's 3 ways you can get rid of Katie Lou. Well, there are 4 ways. You attach both your second round picks this year, which I don't think any team will accept. But things that teams attaching Dantas to her, a team might accept. And what I think a team will accept is if you attach Lexie Hull or you attach the first, next year's first. So I think it's whichever Fever wants to bite the bullet on. For salary reasons, giving up Lexie Hull makes more sense long term because they can get next year's first round pick and that player's going to be on a 4-year rookie deal. The problem is that it hurts you in the short term unless you can find out a player who's of equal or better value to Lexie Hull on a cheaper contract, which does not exist. So the Fever have to make a choice in getting off Katie Lou. And by the way, if Katie Lou Samuelson was on $90,000 a year, I would not be talking about this. Katie Lou Samuelson is a fine bench player. She's just not fine for the money she's on. They have to make one of realistically 2 choices. Do they harm their future by giving up the draft pick? Or do they harm their present by giving up Lexie Hull to get off Katie Lou Samuelson? Or do they harm their present by going out with 11 players? They have to make one of those 3 choices. They either need to harm their present, they need to harm their next season alone in giving up Hull. Sorry, next season alone in giving up a player, just playing with 11 players. They can harm their short-term future by giving up Hull, or they can harm their long-term future by giving up the pick. They have to make one of those 3 choices. And I don't know which one they're going to do. Let me know in the comments. But for people saying, oh, they're not, I'm saying they're going to do this, I'm saying they're going to do that. No, I'm telling you what the cap situation is, what teams will not accept. If teams were willing to accept the 2 second-round picks, or Katie Lou should be gone already. And the fact is that this team, as currently constructed, they can't afford. They simply cannot afford it. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. See you guys.